add some rust. So I'm going to use some Life Color. What is this? Light Shadow 1. Rust Light Shadow 1. And I've thinned it way down with water. It's an acrylic paint. Main thing is it's just a orangey rust color. That's the main thing. It's a very good rust set. Sometimes it can be a little hard to get a hold of. It was one of those products that several modelers said it's absolutely the best rust you'll ever use. Rust color. I heard all sorts of good things about it. So I spent an inordinate amount of time and probably too much money. It wasn't excessively expensive, but probably more than common sense would dictate to get. And I got it, and I found out, yes, it is a very nice rust color. But when you get it to the end, it's not much different than what I already had. So, if you get a chance to get it. It's good. But the main thing is, find a good rusty orange. Now, what is important to consider when picking a rust color is, if possible, just to make things easier, find something that dries very matte. Rust is matte. Rarely do you see glossy rust. I mean, maybe if it's wet, it has a satiny sheen to it. But rarely do you see glossy rust. Now, if you get some color, maybe a Vallejo color, maybe a Citadel color, there's plenty of rusty orange tones out there. And it's a little satiny, a little too shiny. Just put a little bit of matte coat on it. Don't sweat it. Rust just shows something is aged. That's all it does. I mean, really. It just makes it look used, makes it look a little worn. You don't need a lot of it. Just a little. You'll notice I'm pulling the stroke up towards the source, the origin of the rust, rather than streaking it down, because that way it deposits more pigment at the top than at the bottom. And if you get more on there than you want, just take your brush, wipe it off, use your brush to soak it up. If you do that before it dries, you can have a little control over the process. And I could do this with oils or enamels. I just chose not to, mainly because I wanted to dry a little faster. I had to let the oils dry for a few days, and got kind of bored waiting on them. So that's why I like acrylics. 10 minutes from now, this stuff will be completely dry and I can move on. Now, a very good place to add rust color, if you want to add some additional rust color, is just on some of the chipping, because that's going to expose the metal below, the material below. And assuming that it's a ferrous metal, what does it mean if it's ferrous? It's made of ferrets, of course, but just adding a little bit here and there within the rust tone. Now, on this one, think about it. If you are going to streak it, it's got to streak from the source will be at the bottom, and it'll streak to the top, because when this opens up, it hangs down, so keep that in mind. But although it could streak the other way, because when the door comes back up, then, things could run back the other way. So I guess you can have it either way. Just adding a few little tones here and there helps sell the notion. Alright, now I want to put some dirt effects and things like that, mostly on the floor. Also, I have to remember to put some on here where people are going to be coming in and out. But for this, I'm going to use another Vallejo model wash. I say another one. I don't remember if I've used one in this video or not. May have been another one. Anyway, I'm going to use a Vallejo model wash, and this color is brown. I thought it would be a distinct enough difference with the other colors that I've got on here to, show up as dirt. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sponge it on, and I'm starting off by taking off some of it onto this paper towel, and I'm going to come up here. I'm going to put it on and see if that gives me enough color to do what I want. Now, as I've talked about before, this is the kind of thing where I want to start slow and kind of build it up to see how it looks. Sometimes when you use that method, you don't get enough of whatever color you're looking for. And you have to go in either with sometimes you have to find a darker color, or you have to go in with a heavier application. Now the good thing about these model washes is because they are acrylic, they dry really fast. And if it's not giving you the effect you want, you can try a second coat and it'll build that up. See, this is doing what I want. You can kind of see the contrast. Hang on, let me refocus. You can kind of see the color developing here and here versus the other areas. Like, I haven't really put any here, but I have put some here, and it's just slightly darker. Now, if I were in a hurry, I would want to be doing it in a bit more dramatic fashion. Let me refocus one more time. But to be honest, I'm not in a hurry. So, I'll just apply a little more till I get the level I want. Now, you could, certainly if you're wanting to make earth effects, you're wanting to show dirt and stuff like that, you could use pigment, you could use something that's going to give it clumpy mud and things like that. But I'm figuring that inside here, maybe some gets right up on there. I'm figuring inside it's going to be not so much, and especially in this scale, not so much big chunks of dirt, but rather just a dirty tint. Now here I'm going to be a little more careful. Back here I can be a little more deliberate because there'll be some contrast, but there's already a lot happening visually with this floor area, the way it is. So I'm just going to put in a few areas to show some difference. And hopefully convey dirtiness. And then I'll put it kind of heavy there on the little step in like that. And you'll notice I'm not giving a lot of time between applications. It dries fairly quick, sticks fairly well. Any thinned paint would work for this. I just like using these. Don't forget that when you're putting dirt effects and things on, think about would the back of their boots hit this area. So I'll put a little on here. And right there. It's just wherever you think the dirt may go. Alright, you can see along here and along there how that looks. It's just a slight contrast, a slight difference. But it just looks like, deposits of dirt and things like that. And now you can see where I just darkened up some areas right there. And right back here. This is still drying, and you can see the difference between the opacity of how it is when it's wet and how it is when it's dry. So it's and like I've said, there's other things you can use. You could use oils and enamels. This is just one product to make use of. So I just like it because it dries fast and it works. I think it works pretty well for me. All right, I want to do some fluid staining. I'm just going to keep it to one color for this. Just, you know, for the speed of the process. Normally I'd use 2 or 3 colors for fluid stains. But here I'm just going to use one. And I'm just using Citadel's Nuln Oil, which, while normally used as a wash, or as they call it, a shade, as Games Workshop calls it, it's a great color for just making things, mechanical areas and things like that, look oily. Streaking stuff down from it. And you saw how I just put some on there. Can you blend it like oils and enamels? Nah. But I mean, you can feather the edge a little bit with some water if you wanted to, but not in a major way. This is also a good point if you want to boost up any panel lines, any shadows or anything like that you've done with the oils earlier. Just put some of this wash over it, and it'll just enhance that contrast a little bit there, like I'm doing here on this one. I'm doing this one more for demonstration than anything, but it's very useful for that. But yeah, just a few streaks like this go nicely. And another way I like using it, let me find another area, is sometimes what I'd like to do is I like to put a blob on. Like, see here where I didn't clean up the oils very well right there. What I can do is I can put a couple of just heavy blobs of this like that. And now what I've got is some sort of stain. What it is, I don't know. Not worried about it. Same over here. Maybe this is where the panel where the coffee dispenser goes, and they get a little vigorous getting it in and out. But what is it Bob Ross says? You don't make mistakes, you have happy accidents. That's what I've always felt like. Where you have stuff like this happens. I think I just completely forgot to clean this side of it looking at it. I just figured, well, what it did was it just kind of informed me where to add additional weathering. I could go back in and add chipping into some of these areas and all of that. Just kind of blend it in. I don't panic about it. I don't go on social media and say I've ruined my model. How can I fix it? I figure I'm human. I have flaws. I'm going to make mistakes. And at the same time, I probably ruined the model by opening it, taking it out of the box. It was as perfect as it's going to get at that point. So me doing a few things to it isn't really a big deal. But like this vent here, I don't know why fluid would come out of a vent like that, but it did. So, because remember, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So we'll do it over here too. Sometimes I like being symmetrical, and other times I think it can be very visually interesting to be asymmetrical with your applications of stuff like this. This color is really good for like oil stains and things like that. So if you're looking for something like that, Nuln Oil is really good for that. And don't forget, you can do splattering, where you put some color loaded up like this, loaded up on usually a fatter brush than this, and you just flick it against a toothpick. If you've seen some older videos, you remember me doing that. and it provides really wonderful splatters. Now, be careful where you're doing it because it's going to get it everywhere. And if you're thinking you're going to want to clean it up, reduce it, you probably want to do oils or enamels. Acrylics are pretty much, once they're on there, they're on there. But with this, with flicking, that flicking technique, it can be kind of cool. Now, another way you can do, that I like to do sometimes with these stains, let me do it. Well, here, I'll do it right back here to demonstrate it, even though nobody's going to see this area. So I put on a fairly big blob like that, and I go swirl my brush around in water, and then just take the water and just start moving this around like that. So it thins it out. And I may pick up some and absorb some and do things like that, but I just manipulate it around. And just come up with a very subtle stain like that. And you can go back later and you can add, sometimes it's fun to add just a little color in like that and see where it flows. And just let weathering happen. So experiment like that. Experiment where you're moving stuff around, you're adding color, adding pigments, adding whatever. So you're putting it down here, probably nobody's going to see this because this is going to be under the canopy. There's going to be figures and all of that. But this is the part where I'm just having fun. You know, just putting colors on. Some people say I always do the models even where nobody can see it because I know it's there. I don't care too much about that. I just like having fun. Every surface on the model to me is a place for potential fun. Remember how I put that dirt along here? Sometimes if you have one color, if you put another color next to it that's a little more contrasty, it helps the first one show up a little bit. Again, if you watch Bob Ross, I mean others say this, but if you watch Bob Ross, he's all the time talking about light and dark, light and dark. He'll put in a dark area, and then when he starts putting highlights over it, he'll say, don't kill that dark area. Use that, it's your friend. And it's true. It really is. Alright, so let me put in a few more of these stains like this. And how's our stain back here looking? See how it's drying? Isn't that cool? I like that. I like that a lot. And then I can go back in and do it again, right over the top. Just keep doing layers of it like this, and it just makes for a really interesting stain. So let me go add some more stains to this thing. Well, I think I'll call this video done. I've got pretty much everything I wanted to do on the interior, except for the figures. That'll be what I cover next. And getting those in there. I'm thinking right now, I may change my mind, but I'm thinking right now I may actually drill a hole in the foot of each figure, put a little pin through it, and then afterwards drill a hole in the floor where I'm going to position them, so that it'll just make sure that I can glue the pinned part down with super glue, and then the other foot with normal plastic cement, and that should give me the best hold, because I'd hate to stick them in there and then, you know, ship it off to somebody and they get it and pick it up and it's just, you know, stuff rattling around inside. I mean, because the top will be off, they'll be able to fix it, but I think pinning at least one foot might be a good idea. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm happy with the way this turned out. I mean, it's grimy, it's dirty. There's no two ways about it. I think it looks like a well-used, well-worn interior, but functional. And I think sometimes that's a key distinction to make, is that You know, a military vehicle still has to be functional. You can't just take something that's rusted and beat up and hasn't been used and it's falling apart and think it's going to work. You've got to have some functionality left in it. So I think this represents that fairly well. So I'm pretty happy with it. This will probably be my last Patreon video for 2023. Next week is going to be, as I'm filming this, today's the 17th. Next week is going to be Christmas weekend. Of course, Christmas Eve will be on Sunday, then Christmas Day on Monday, 2023. And I'll be visiting family, and of course, nobody's going to want to watch a video then. And then we will be driving back the end of the next week, the week following Christmas. So I just don't know if I'll have time to have anything prepared for the last weekend in December 2023. So if I can, I've got an idea for something that yesterday I went and had my Bob Ross visit. So yeah, there you go, Bob. And had my Bob Ross visit. I did some filming, and if I get time to edit it and put it together, then I'll put that out on the last week in December. If not, sometime in January, so you can just kind of see a little bit of that visit. It was a very, very good visit, and just quite amazing to see those paintings. But anyway, thank you for being a patron as always, and thank you for the support of me and my family. And while I'll put up a post to this effect, I will go ahead and say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. And I hope you were able to spend time with family and friends and just enjoy some time off and some time together. So you know the deal. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. So happy day to you, friends. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Bye-bye.